touched on how you started Aquarium Co-op. You expect it to grow to the point where it is now? Has that always kind of been the end goal, or has that just kind of continued to snowball and you've just ridden the ride?
Definitely wasn't the plan. The plan was just like, in my mind, I thought, hey, maybe I'd have a couple of employees and we'd just be a local pet store that did really well, as in not financially. Like, yes, we wanted to, like, financially need to be viable, but it wasn't like, yeah, if I do this right, I'll be making the money like a doctor. It's like I didn't go into think of that. I'm going, okay, what's a good pet store look like? And I was just trying to do that. And at the time, I hadn't traveled the country to see what good pet stores look like, because there are some that just blow your mind in terms of the way the company runs and the selection and just the things they've done. And I love to tour fish stores because there's always another thing like, that's brilliant. Whoever thought of that, that's brilliant. I hate the way you're doing that, but that I will implement. That is amazing. And so I thought, if I could get to a point where we could afford a home and I had health insurance, and that was basically winning, and I got to play with fish all day, that would be what winning looked like. We were able to do that, but not without incredible amounts of time. And with a local business, like a fish store type business, a lot of it is marinating time. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, I've driven by that fish store 100 times, but then your kid that was 2 is now 6, and you're thinking about getting an aquarium. And so you needed to be there for 4 years to finally rope that person in. And so it very slowly can build if you're doing the right things. It's just whether you can prevent burnout. And I definitely was hitting burnout. We started getting some bad reviews and things like that where I wouldn't go out of my way. And in fact, if, when I reflect on it, it's like, I am only here to make people happy. Like, why was I short with people? And it is that, well, I only got 4 hours of sleep and there's this stress over here. And the customer before you was a real Karen and you're getting proximity, aggro basically on accident. And so that's actually when I really stepped back and was like, I have to hire people. We have to scale this thing because this is not sustainable forever. It just, on average, I was seeing my wife 1 hour a day because she worked as a baker. And so her work started at 2 a.m. and mine started at noon. And so by the time I got home at 9, she would have stayed up till like maybe 10, but then you're going, so she had to take a nap during the day, sleep an extra 4 hours then go to work. That wears on a relationship especially when I'm working 6 days and if her day didn't line up. And so, yeah, did not expect it to get to this level. And some days I'm like, I wish it wouldn't have gotten to this level because it is all consuming in that being so lucky. And maybe, I don't know because I haven't had these other opportunities, but maybe it's like a music artist or something like that where they really blow up and it's like, yeah, you're on tour 11 months out of the year. It's like, that is not what I was ever hoping for, but you're so fortunate to have it and make that money and be able to do those things that you continue to do it. But usually you'll watch a band and they're like, and we're done for like 10 years straight. And then they're like, yeah, we do love it. We just don't love it 11 months, 10 years in a row, love it. So there are times when I'm like, I wish it was a bit more balance so that I could have work-life balance. But there's a lot of things we just don't have control over, whether it's governmental things or just shipping containers or employees quitting or whatever it's going to be. And it's just you go from like I was coasting for a day or two to like I got to get back on it at 20 hours a day because that's what it requires right now.
Using the band analogy, a lot of bands sort of go from nothing to all of a sudden they're in massive popularity, and they kind of struggle with, for lack of better terms, fame and fortune and all that kind of thing. Your journey being more of a slow, gradual rise?
Yeah, I would say there's been a trajectory for sure, but there's been spikes in it because I just was blind to it. And the first one was when I was just sharing my aquariums on YouTube. Before I was like, hey, I need to go on YouTube, right? It was kind of just like, oh, I'm just sharing what I do. And I was building a fish room. I had like 3,000 subscribers. I wasn't even monetized. So the first time I monetized was when YouTube was sending me letters like, if you don't fill out the forms, we will keep your money. And that's when I was like, oh, I've made $3,000 in the last 14 months. I'm like, hey, I should probably do that because I don't want to lose the money, but I wasn't doing it for the money. So I kind of set that up, but then we decided we were buying a home, right? And so that, while owning the store, became all consuming, had to move a fish room. And I remember we kind of got settled and I went to an aquatic experience, which was before Aquashellas and stuff. And I showed up purely because I was looking for vendors and things to bring into my store and build a relationship with vendors. And as I show up, all of a sudden people are walking up to like, hey, you're Aquarium Co-op on YouTube. And my mind was blown because that had never happened. And I was like, yes, I'm in Washington. Like, and it hadn't clicked in my brain at that time that people would be watching me outside of Washington, because a lot of my videos were like, here's how to set up this cancer filter that we sell in the store. Come buy it from us. I would talk to people like they were 5 minutes away and drive in and come see us. And yet people from around the world were watching. And so that was the first time where that spike. And when I was at that show, so while I took like these 8 or 9 or 10 months off or whatever it was from YouTube, the channel had actually grown to like 27,000 subscribers just from like the videos that were there. And I kind of knew, but it's like when you're not looking at the comments every day or anything, it's just kind of like, yeah, that's over there. I'm literally trying to just make sure the store stayed open. And then I had gone to the event, and that's where like, okay, that first like stardom kind of like, whoa. And then I was like, I should sell stuff to those people, because it's not that I was like, hey, I got fans, I should make money off them. They were literally like, where do you buy the thing you just showed and this or that? And I was like, well, I could sell it to you because I don't know how you're going to buy it in Virginia or New Zealand or wherever. I'm like, I'm not sure how you're going to do that. And there'd be long conversations, and so much so that like some of I was doing these double 40-gallon breeder stands that you could buy at a hardware store. People would call the physical retail store, be standing in the hardware store going, is it this model number? Is it this one? And I'm like, I kind of like, what aisle would it be? I'm like, I really don't know. I honestly don't know. You're in a different state. I want to help you. And so then I'd make another video where I'd show like the serial numbers and that kind of stuff. And we'd still be getting calls. And so that's why we're at a point now where we don't have a phone number published, because it will literally ring off the hook. And people get angry when they're like, every time I call, it's always busy. Then we went up to several operators, still had the same problem. And it's because half the people just want to chat about fish. The other half want help with a fish room. Then there's some that actually need help with like, oh, my order online or whatever. And so, yes, I was not prepared for it. And we're at a point now where I actively go out of my way to avoid people. And it's not that I would spend all day talking to any fan. I love it. It's just when you're on the way to grandma's house for dinner and you need to stop and pick up some rolls, and it's an hour and a half because you got recognized by a fan. And when you don't, if you say, hey, I got to go to grandma's dinner, you see the comments online like, that guy was so rude, didn't make time for me. And it's like, literally had the whole family waiting on me, and I didn't want to be rude to them either. And so my wife does a lot of that heavy lifting now, the shopping, and even answering, like when we order Amazon and stuff, when packages come to the door, if I answer it 1 out of 15 times, it's, oh my God, are you Cory from Aquarium Co-op? And then the last, can I get a tour of the fish room and this and that? It's like kind of in the middle of something. I'm at work and all of that. So that part of the fame is super cool, but then also disruptive. And so I try to harness that part of it into, hey, today I'm going to go do all this and be all with all the fans. And today I'm going to try to not do that part. Still always, like I've almost been late for planes with TSA and stuff like that, because a fan will be one of the TSA officers, and you try and chat for 5, 6, 7 minutes, but you're like, actually, I gotta go. But everyone is always well-meaning. I've never really had a bad interaction or anything like that. So luckily, yes, there are crazies that send us death threats and stuff like that to the store and all that. That does exist. But outside of that, in person, haven't really had a problem.